Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, directors and also councillors. Welcome to the June OCM. Not quite sure how we got to June so quickly, but here we are. I'd also like to acknowledge Mr Vivian and Mr Smith from the media. Welcome. And also to the members in our gallery, I guess in particular our past president, Mr Ian Mickle. Welcome. I'll start the meeting by acknowledging country. So the Shire of Esperance acknowledges the Kepakul Wajari people of the Noongar Nation and the Naju people who are the traditional custodians of this land and their continuing connection to land, waters and community. We pay our respect to elders past, present and emerging, and we extend that respect to other Aboriginals today. Okay, item 2 is attendance. So we have all directors in attendance, including the CEO and all council. So welcome everybody. Item 3 is apologies and notifications of granted leave of absence. I just said everybody's here, so there's no apologies and nobody away on leave. So item 4 is applications for leave of absence. Is there anybody wishing to make an application for leave of absence? Councillor Starcevic.
Yes, please. Can I have from the 2nd of July to the 5th of August and the 9th of August to the 16th of August?
Thank you.
Oh, hang on, there's one, and there might be one missing. 2nd to... no, sorry, that's wrong. 2nd of July to the 11th of July. And the 24th of July to the 5th of August, and then the 9th of August to the 16th of August. Sorry.
That will work. Councillor Llewellyn.
Yes, as tabled. Thank you.
No worries. Are there any other persons wishing to apply for a leave of absence? Could I have a mover that those dates as amended? Councillor Oglon, do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Graham, thank you. There's no debate required. Those in agreement? Those against? 9-0, thank you. Item 5 is announcements by the person presiding without discussion. There is none. Declarations of members' interest. So we'll go to 6.1, which is declarations of financial interest. Is there any people wishing to declare a financial interest? 6.2, declarations of proximity interest. Is there anyone wishing to declare a proximity interest? Item 6.3, declarations of impartiality interest. Is there anyone wishing to declare an impartiality interest? Councillor Johnson.
Yes, I'd like to declare an impartiality interest in item 17.2, the supply and laying of concrete curbing and minor concrete works, as one of the applicants is my sister's family company.
Thank you. Councillor De Haas.
Yes, I'd like to declare a partiality interest in 12.4.4 Compassionate Community Charters Esperance, as I am one of the leadership volunteers, which are part of the Leading Australian Resilient Communities program, which is piloting this project.
Thank you. Mr Walker?
Yeah, through the chair, I'd like to declare an impartiality interest in 1917.2, supplying and laying of concrete curbing and minor concrete works, as one of the applicants plays hockey and sales with me.
Thank you, Mr Walker. Is there anyone else wishing to declare an impartiality interest? Thank you. We'll move on to item 7, public question time. And I notice that they're written here as observing, but is there anyone in the public gallery wishing to ask a question? Thank you. Yes, sir. Certainly, if you come up to the...
Have you got any plans to have any more wind turbines situated on your coastline?
Yep. If you come up and ask at the microphone, just because we're on we're live streamed, so that way people can hear the questions.
Do you have any plans to further further the number of wind turbines that you have situated on your coastline here?
I will put that question to the CEO.
Yeah, currently there's no plans to have any further. There's been, discussions with some FFI over recent periods of time, but nothing concrete whether anything will eventuate in our community with further wind turbines. So at this point in time, there is nothing on the cards for that.
Because it seems to me that this would be one of the perfect places to have a conglomeration of wind turbines, so you could export the energy out of Esperance further up the coast and help to power up Western Australia with renewable energy.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your comments. I guess that's something that Andrew Forrest is having a look at. So, if that's something that he wants to pursue, then we'll hear about it in the future.
Let's hope it happens soon.
Thank you very much, sir. No further questions. Item 8 is public addresses and deputations. Is there any public addresses or deputations? No. Petitions? No petitions. Confirmation of minutes. Everyone should have had the opportunity to read the minutes from the previous meeting. Does anyone have any questions or queries in regards to the minutes? Do I have someone move that those minutes are a true and accurate record? Councillor Flanagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting of the 28th of May 2024 be confirmed as a true and correct record.
I have a seconder for that motion. Councillor De Haas, thank you. Do you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr. President.
Those in favour? 9-0, thank you. Item 11 is delegates' reports without discussion. So I'll just go around the table. Councillor Starcevich?
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Councillor Johnson?
No, nothing to add, thanks.
Councillor Davies?
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Councillor Flanagan?
As tabled, thank you, Mr. President.
Councillor McMullen?
As tabled, thank you.
Councillor De Haas?
As tabled, thank you.
Councillor Graham? Councillor Oborne?
As tabled, thank you.
Thank you. And mine are up there as tabled, thank you. Which leads us to item 12, which is matters requiring a determination of council. So item 12.1 is external services. Item 12.1.1 is a request for fee waiver for the Esperance and Districts Agricultural Society. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Grieve in regards to this item? So the item starts on page 12 and the officer's recommendation is on page 13. Do I have anyone wishing to move the officer's recommendation? Councillor Starcevich.
Thanks, Mr. President. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that Council 1 agree to support the Esperance and Districts Agricultural Society by waiving high fees for the Greater Sports Ground Indoor Sports Stadium, if available, Graham Mackenzie Stadium and the Noel White Centre, as well as associated costs including rubbish disposal, traffic management and grounds maintenance as outlined within their request in exchange for the platinum level sponsorship, and 2, request the CEO to respond to the Esperance and Districts Agricultural Society advising cleaning does not form part of this arrangement and is to be organised by the Esperance and Districts Agricultural Society. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Starcevich. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor McMullen, do you wish to speak to your motion, Councillor Starcevich?
No, thank you.
Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor McMullen as the seconder, will you wish to speak for the motion?
No, thank you.
Is there a speaker against the motion? Speaker for the motion or amendment? I'll take it that you're ready to vote. Those in favour? Thank you. And Daniel, thank you. Item 12.1.2 on page 21 is the adoption of extractive industries local law. Does anyone have any questions, or does Mr. Grue wish to make a statement in regards to this item? No worries. The officer's recommendation is on page 23. Does I have anyone that wishes to move the officer's recommendation or an alternate? Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move the officer's recommendation that Council 1 notes that the lawmaking process will repeal the Extractive Industries Local Law 2001, and 2, makes the Extractive Industries Local Law 2024 as per Attachment A in accordance with Section 3.12.4 of the Local Government Act 1995, subject to the Chief Executive Officer A publishing the Extractive Industries Local Law 2024 in Government Gazette in accordance with Section 312.5 of the Local Government Act 1995. B, following gazettal, providing local public notice of the Extractive Industries Local Law 2024 in accordance with Section 312.6 of the Local Government Act 1995. And C, following local public notice, providing an explanatory memorandum signed by the Shire President and Chief Executive Officer and a copy of the Extractive Industries Local Law 2024 to the Western Australian Parliamentary Joint Standing Committee on Delegated Legislation in accordance with Section 312.7 of the Local Government Act 1995.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Flanagan, thank you. Do you wish to speak to your motion, Councillor Davies?
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Is there a speaker against the motion? Councillor Flanagan as a seconder. Do you wish to speak for the motion?
Probably wax lyrical about it. It's just a rudimentary updated the definitions and the format within the local law, and has been run past the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries, and yep, it's pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Is there a speaker against the motion? Is there a speaker for the motion or an amendment? In that case, I take it you're ready to vote. It needs to be an absolute majority, councillors. Those in favour? 9 votes to nil. Thank you. Roll through this. Item 12.2 is asset management, of which there is nil. Item 12.3, corporate and community services. So 12.3.1 is the 2024-25 community grants program budget allocation. Does anyone have any questions of Ms. Baxter, or does Ms. Baxter wish to make a statement in regards to this item? It's on page 48, councillors, and the officer's recommendation is on page 51. If there's no questions, do I have anyone wishing to move the officer's recommendation? Or not? Sorry?
I can make
Mr. Sear?
a comment if you can. Councillors, sorry. We've workshopped, obviously, the community grants quite extensively. We've had a number of workshops with them. We've got some suggested approved amounts following those workshops that also form part of this resolution, which maybe the Secretariat can just unhighlight at this point in time, and then that can form part of your the recommendation, essentially. So, and then you can make changes from there if you'd like.
Thank you, Mr. Sear. Everyone had an opportunity to have a look at that. I'll ask again, councillors, is there anyone wishing to make any comments or statement? Or ask any questions in regards to the item? Do I have anyone wishing to move the officer's recommendation or an alternate motion? I won't make you read it all out. Just if that's what's holding people back. Sorry, Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move the officer's recommendation that council includes $290,469 into the 24-25 annual budget to be distributed in accordance with the criteria and guidelines of the Community Grants Program. A small grant category budget of $100,000 allocated in quarterly amounts of $25,000 during the funding year and in accordance with guidelines on the community grants program, and B allocated as follows as tabled.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Do I have a second for that motion? Councillor Oborne, thank you. Councillor Davies, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, there's been a lot of extensive consultation and workshops that we've done on these. We've been informed quite well about what each of the organisations have applied for and what they're hoping to get out of this funding. And I believe they've all done a really good job with their applications and look forward to seeing what comes of these applications for our community.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Councillor Oborne, do you wish to speak for the motion as a second?
No, thank you, Mr. President. That's well said.
Thank you. Is there anyone wish to speak against the motion? Anyone wish to speak for the motion or an amendment? I'll take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? 9 votes to nil. Thank you. Item 12.3.2, which is a financial services report for June 2024. Does anyone have any questions of Ms Baxter or any statements that require to be made? In that case, do I have anyone wishing to move the motion? Councillor De Haas.
Yes, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council receive the attached report entitled Monthly Financial Services Report for the month of May 2024.
Thank you, Councillor De Haas. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Starcevich, thank you. Do you wish to speak to your motion, Councillor De Haas?
Of course I do. It's comforting to read through this well-prepared report and see the line that says, "The council is solvent and I do not consider there are any other matters of liquidity that I would bring to council's attention. So thank you once again to our ever-competent staff for the preparation of my favourite bedtime reading material."
Thank you, Councillor De Haas. Do I have anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Councillor Starcevich, do you wish to speak for the motion as the seconder?
No, nothing further, Chair. Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Anyone wishing to speak for the motion or an alternate or an amendment? Apologies. In that case, I'll take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? Thank you. 9-0. Item 12.3.3, which is on page 104, is the lease reassignment for the request for the airport car hire desk 1. Does anyone have any questions of Ms Baxter or a statement from Ms Baxter in regards to this item? The officer's recommendation is on page 105. Councillor McMullen.
I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation that council reassign the lease with Felsoft Pty Ltd, trading as Avis Esperance Car Rentals for Esperance Airport Car Hire Desk 1, portion of Lot 15, Coolgardie Esperance Highway, Gibson, to Busby Investments Pty Ltd, subject to 1. Sale of business being finalised, lease reassignment date being 1st of July 2024, any outstanding invoices being paid, and a lease reassignment fee of $240 being payable.
Do I have any seconder for that? Councillor Davies, thank you. Do you wish to speak to your motion, Councillor?
This is a very simple administrative item here. Obviously, one business has been sold and another business is taking that over, and the lease, as part of that process, needs to be reassigned.
Do I have anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Davies, do you wish to speak for the motion?
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Do you have any wish to speak against the motion? Anyone want to speak for the motion or amendment? In which case I'll take it you're ready to vote. Those people in favour? Thank you. Item 12.3.4, which is the schedule of fees and charges 2024-2025. Does anyone, does Ms Baxter wish to make any statement, or does anyone have any questions in regards to this item for Ms Baxter? I realise we've done quite an extensive amount of workshops on this, councillors. The officer's recommendation is on page 110. Do I have anyone wishing to move? Councillor Oborne.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an amended motion I would like to move.
Amended won't be amended, it's just your motion.
My motion, an alternate motion?
Just be a motion, obviously, councillor.
Motion? Do you want me to read it out?
Please.
That council endorse the attached draft schedule of fees and charges to be included within the 2024-2025 budget adoption with the following changes. Remove the $10 fee for commercial green waste, remove the $2 per kilo charge on disposal of household goods, and the dog rehoming surrender fee to remain the same as the previous financial year.
Yeah, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor De Haas. Councillor Oborne, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yeah, we have workshopped this extensively. We've talked about all these items. The three changes, are just around knowing that we are going to have FOGO as a priority in our new waste management facility, just encouraging people to continue to give their green waste to us rather than dumping it on the side of the road. Again, with the disposal of household goods, not making it too hard for people. We don't want things being dumped, which I see in my area, literally a kettle on the vacant block on the corner of Sholey and Backland Streets. And, the dog rehoming surrender fee, that 312% increase was just massive, and I feel like we need to do some further work on that before we go to such a large increase. And it's my primary concern around that one is animal welfare, and I'd love the opportunity. I'm asking for some time from my colleagues and the opportunity to work on that line item for a better result for all concerned.
Do you have anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mr. President. In principle, I support most of them. However, I don't agree with removing the fee for commercial green waste, as commercial operators are essentially requiring us to dispose of their waste, and there should be a fee attached to that. And commercial operators are less likely than your average old maid doing the gardening on the weekend to illegally dump it. So my take on that is that $10 fee should remain, but the others I agree with.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Councillor De Haas, do you wish to speak in favour of the motion as the seconder?
No, I've got nothing to add. I think Councillor Oborne said it very succinctly, and I totally agree.
Is there anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Flanagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm speaking against the motion for the exact same reason as outlined by Councillor Davies. Thank you.
Have any wish to speak for the motion? Speak against the motion? I'll take the opportunity to speak for the motion. I agree that with the sentiment from both Councillor Davies and from Councillor Flanagan in regards to the commercial operators, but I also believe that it is something moving forward that we're trying to do as far as recycling and also the FOGO that is hopefully coming online in the next couple of years. I think it is certainly something that we could look at in the future to have a look at exactly what the costs are involved in around dealing with the commercial green waste. I agree also with the removal of the $2 per kilo charge on disposable household goods, and also the dog homing. I agree that my concern around that is the welfare of an animal. If someone has an animal that goes to the vet and can't afford to have it put down, but then also can't afford to hand it into the ranges to have it dealt with, then that animal will probably end up at home and be either mistreated or not die or death. So the reason that I agree with that one is purely around animal welfare. Do you wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Davies? Oh, sorry. Councillor Johnson?
But I don't mind being. No, well, I will speak against it because I personally thought it was a good initiative from the Shire to increase the dog rehoming. I thought it was good to be trying to discourage people from surrendering their dog and essentially costing the Shire that money. So I'm going to speak against it for that reason. I love animals dearly, but
Thank you. Do any wish to speak for the motion? Against the motion? Anyone wishing to move an amendment to the motion? In that case, I'll take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? Those against? 6-3. Thank you. Item 12.4 is executive services. 12.4.1 is Esperance Jetty. The section 43 prohibition on fishing wire trace order on page 137. Does Mr. Burge wish to make a statement, or are there any questions in regards to this item to Mr. Burge?
Happy to take questions.
Does anyone have any questions in regards to this item? Councillor Graham?
We did consult the land-based fishing group, and well, there's a number of people we consulted with, and Mitch Wademan was planning to be here just to make a point. Yeah, on behalf of Mitch Wademan, who was planning to be here, so I just thought I'd read this out, and just for him. Saying that banning wire trace does not necessarily stop shark fishing. The sharks will still be there because everyone else is fishing anyway. We would be disappointed to see anyone fined for accidentally using small wire trace on the jetty while fishing for other species. Just because that's the legislation they've brought out in Perth doesn't mean it's good legislation, and copying in effective legislation doesn't make sense to us. We do agree shark fishing on the jetty does not line up with community values though, but better laws need to be, better laws are needed. So that's a comment on their behalf, just to make it publicly known of their position. So.
Take that as a statement from Mr. Wademan. Thank you very much. Are there any questions in regards to this item? Do we should move to the officer's recommendation, or Councillor De Haas?
Yes, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council requests the CEO to advise the Minister for Fisheries of support for the Esperance Tanker Jetty and immediate surrounds to be included in an S43 prohibition on fishing wire trace order.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Flanagan, thank you. Councillor De Haas, do you wish to speak for the motion?
I've had concerns with shark fishing from the jetty for a long time, and first brought the subject up not long after I was elected to council. Shark fishing in this area is simply not compatible with community safety in a recreational swimming zone, and particularly considering the internationally renowned dive trail situated there. And while prohibition on fishing wire trace is not a complete answer, I'm hoping it will be a good start. Thank you.
Do I speak against the motion? Councillor
Well, yeah, I was going to foreshadow another motion, but I'll just speak against it. Yeah, no, because I mean, obviously, if this motion doesn't get up, then we'll have to.
You can foreshadow
You know,
another motion.
the minister needs to be notified. So if this motion doesn't get up, Mr. CEO, we'll have to.
If this motion just didn't get up, essentially I'd notify them to say we don't support a wire trace ban at this point in time.
Well, I'll just speak against it. I mean, and that's not to say that I'm supportive of shark fishing on the jetty. I'm absolutely not. But I think it's not an activity that should necessarily be encouraged. But as Councillor Graham just outlined with the statement from Mitch Wademan, President of the Esperance Land-Based Fishing Club. This is poor legislation, and the state needs to know that it's poor legislation and it's not going to solve the problem. So if we want to be real about this problem, then we need to actually work with fisheries, work with our local groups, and actually find a solution that you know, fixes the problem, as opposed to just, you know, I guess, you know, ramming more and more restrictions on our oceans.
Thank you, Councillor McMullen. Councillor Flanagan, do you wish to speak for the motion as a seconder?
Thank you, Mr. President. I supported the motion simply based on its limited scope, which is just the Esperance Jetty. If it actually was wider in the area of coverage, then I certainly wouldn't have supported it because of the apparent flaws, and I acknowledge the points raised by Mr. Wademan, and do acknowledge that there are flaws within the legislation, but due to its limited scope of only applying to the jetty, that's the reason why I actually support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Flanagan. Do I have anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Oval?
This agenda item is a rock and a hard place. There's no one at this table that wants to see anything go wrong with shark fishing in the middle of our bay on our beloved jetty. But this legislation's inflexible, so I don't think we're quite there yet, and I'm voting against this motion in particular because I'd like to see if Councillor McMullen has something better on the table.
Thank you, Councillor Oval. Do I have anyone wish to speak for the motion? Anyone speak against the motion? I'll take this opportunity to speak for the motion, and I agree totally with what Mitch Wademan has said, and is also along the lines of Councillor McMullen as well, being that I don't believe that a complete prohibition on wire trace is the correct way to go, but unfortunately currently that is the only tool that we have. I've spoken extensively with Wreckfish West and the guys in around that, and also the other fishing groups. And whilst they were all continuing to lobby the state government to alter and come up with a far better way of restricting shark fishing, we have heard from the community that they don't want to see shark fishing on the jetty. And I agree with Councillor Flanagan in the fact that whilst this motion purely looks after the Tanker Jetty, again, I would not be supportive of having this motion over a wider area. But on the Tanker Jetty, where the community have said they don't wish to see sharks landed on the jetty, I support this motion, but I agree that I think there's better tools out there for the betterment of looking after the species, and also being far more effective for recreational fishermen. Do anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Davies.
Mr. President, I would like to ask a question around this item, if that's okay. Or has that time passed?
We are in debate, so
Can I move to suspend standing orders?
I have a motion to move to suspend standing orders, seconded by Councillor McMullen. I'll put that to the vote. Those wishing to suspend standing orders. Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mr. President. Apologies for the delay in getting that question through. My question, I suppose, to the CEO is if there was to be any changes on where the restrictions on wire trace was, would that still have to go through the Shire of Esperance, or would the Department of Fisheries be able to do that regardless of what we do here today?
Look, I think Department of Fisheries can implement restrictions under their legislation where they like, so I don't necessarily think it has to come to us. In saying that, but I don't think they'd be implementing wire trace restrictions in regional Western Australia without support of the community, so I couldn't see them doing it. However, I believe, and this is what they did in the metro area, that they did bring it in, I think, without extensive consultation. So I think they can do it, but I don't believe that they would.
Thank you. It's good to hear that they're doing consultation.
Councillor Oval.
I'm trying to word my overtime.
Do you wish to resume standing up?
I move that we resume standing orders.
Councillor McMullen, do you second that? Those in favour? Thank you. So I've asked for and against. Is there an amendment? In that case, I take it that you're ready to vote. Those in favour? So, those against? 2, 7, 0. Thank you. Thank you, councillors, for testing my skills. Much appreciated while I'm being assessed. No. Item 12.4.2 is the information bulletin for June 2024 on page 142. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Burge or a statement, Mr. Burge, that you require? No questions? The officer's recommendation is on page 142. Do I have anyone wishing to move the officer's recommendation or? Councillor De Haas.
Just for you, Councillor Oborne. I would like to move the officer's recommendation that council accepts 1, the information bulletin June 2024, and 2, council priorities summary corporate performance May 2024.
Thank you, Councillor De Haas. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Johnson, thank you. Do you wish to speak for your motion, Councillor De Haas?
So alongside the very special financial services report, we have our information bulletin. The two of them together complete the picture of the Shire over the previous month. Both of them are really good reading, and if you haven't taken the time to have a full read of it, I really recommend that you do.
Thank you. Do I have anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Johnson, do you wish to speak for the motion?
No, nothing to add, thank you.
Do I have any speakers against the motion? Any speakers for the motion? Anyone wish to make an amendment? Take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? Thank you. Item 12.4.3 is the Walga Annual General Meeting and WA Local Government Convention. So this item requires to nominate the councillors who wish to be the Shire's voting delegates at the Walga Annual General Meeting, and also request to the councillors that are wishing to attend the Walga Annual General Meeting and the Local Government Convention. Does anyone have any questions in regards to this item? Mr. Birch, do you have any statements? The officer's recommendation is on page 100. Councillor McMullen.
Yep, I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation that council nominate councillors Shire President Chambers and Councillor Oborne as the Shire's voting delegates for the Walga Annual General Meeting to be held in Perth on the 9th of October 2024. And 2, request the CEO to register councillors Starcevich, Johnson, Davies, McMullen, De Haas and Graham to attend the 2024 West Australian Local Government Convention held in Perth on the 8th to the 10th of October 2024.
Thank you, Councillor McMullen. Do I have a second?
Sorry, point of order.
Mr.
Should you also nominate President Chambers and Councillor Oborne to be part of the attending the local government week?
Yeah, I guess they can come to that as well. Okay, so as amended to include
Thank you,
Councillor
Mr. Walker.
Chambers and Oborne for point 2, yes.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor De Haas, thank you. Who was the mover of that? Now you got lost.
Councillor McMullen.
Oh, sorry, Councillor McMullen, yes. Do you wish to speak to your motion?
I don't think it requires a great deal of discussion, but I encourage all councillors to go along and to the Walga Convention. It's also a fantastic opportunity to catch up with some of the wonderful life members of Walga, one of which we have in the gallery with us tonight.
Also the inaugural, chair too, buddy. Yeah, also the inaugural chair of Walga.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Do I have anyone to speak against the motion? Councillor Hash, do you wish to speak as seconder?
Just a quick word to say, I really encourage the newer councillors to come along to this. It is a really great few days in Perth. There is so much that you can learn from it. So have a great time.
Thank you. Is there any speakers against the motion? Speaker for the motion or amendment? I'll take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? 9 votes to nil. Thank you. Item 12.4.4, Compassionate Community Charter Esperance Initiative. Does anyone have any questions in regards to this or a statement from Mr. Birch?
I'll just add that we just got a late response from the Compassionate Communities Charter late this afternoon. I sent that around, so hopefully you've had a chance to read that as well.
Thank you. If there's no questions, does anyone wish to move the officer's recommendation or an alternate? Councillor De Haas.
Yes, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council endorse the Compassionate Community Charter Esperance Initiative and support further public consultation with the community.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Flanagan, thank you. Councillor Hash, do you wish to speak for your motion?
Yes. So the endorsement and support of this charter by the Shire is an important step forward for the Compassionate Community Charter Esperance Group. This step will help to validate the content of the charter and encourage broader community participation. The charter is a prompt for members of the community to stop and think about their actions and or reactions to what is happening around them. It is hoped that this charter will be placed in many places around town, including the Shire, and as I said, a prompt for people to have a read of it and to stop and think about other people rather than just themselves. So on that note, I hope and trust that my fellow councillors will fully support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Do I have anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Flanagan is the second. Do you wish to speak for the motion?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll go back to what's actually outlined in the Charter, which is anchored in compassion, celebrate diversity, love where we live, respect for all, coming together as a community and play your part. They're all very, very important things for our regional community. We are a town that have gone through quite a lot, probably in the last 10 to 15 years, through natural disaster or through divisions in the community, or any number of things. And the things that have got us through are founded on these principles. And so for that reason, I can see nothing bad coming from having or supporting a compassionate community charter for Esperance. Thank you.
Thank you. Any speakers against the motion? Speakers for the motion? I'd also like to just take the time to speak for this motion too, and I guess to thank the people in the community that feel strongly enough to join together and do this. This is a total volunteer base, people that believe that there is a desire or a need in the community to have a charter, just to remind people of how, you know, they want the community to function. I echo the words of Councillor Flanagan. Around this community has been through a lot over the last 10 to 15 years. And it is a very, very resilient community, and I think a lot of that resilience comes purely from the fact that when the chips are down, we get together and we look after each other, and I think it's something worth celebrating in this community. So I'd just like to thank those people that have taken the time to do this. Speaker against the motion? Speaker for the motion or an amendment? In that case, I take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? 9 votes to nil. Thank you. Item 12.4.5, the Esperance Tourism brand, which is on page 186. Does anyone have any questions in regards to this item, or does you wish to make a statement, Mr. Burge? Are there any questions for Mr. Burge in regards to this item? In that case, the officer's recommendation is on page 188. Do I have anyone wishing to move the officer's recommendation? Councillor Starcevich.
Thanks, Mr. President. Yes, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that Council 1 endorse the new Esperance Tourism brand, Esperance in Your Element, and to 2, request the Shire to work closely with Australia's Golden Outback to implement the new Esperance tourism brand with the tourism industry and community.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor De Haas, thank you. Councillor Tarsfish, do you wish to speak to your motion?
I think the people that we consulted with have done, the brand group, have done a really great job of this new tourism program, and hopefully it works and brings lots of people and we'll enjoy our elements.
Thank you, Councillor Tarsfish. Do I have anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor De Haas, do you wish to speak for the motion?
Yes, I take great pleasure in supporting this recommendation for the Esperance Tourism Brand Project. The brand agency who delivered this listened to and worked with the community to come up with a brand that suits Esperance to a T. From the first consultation held by the agency, it was evident that this was a winner. The agency listened to the community, tweaked the project to incorporate further ideas, and presented to council an extremely polished, positive brand for our town. A brand that really has a sense of what the essence of Esperance is. A brand for all seasons, Esperance in your element. I'm excited to see this come to fruition and encourage all councillors to be on board with this.
Thank you, Councillor De Haas. Do I have anyone wish to speak against the motion? And wish to speak for the motion? Or an amendment? Take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? 9 votes to nil. Thank you. Item 13, which is reports of committees. There is none. Item 14, motions of which notice has been given. There is one that has been put in. So, Councillor Johnson, if you'd like to move your motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move a notice of motion to authorise myself to engage in communications on behalf of the Shire of Esperance with the owners of 2 Andrew Street to explore options to improve the amenity of the site, please.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Davies, thank you. Councillor Johnson, do you wish to speak for your motion?
Sorry, yes, I will. I think our entire town would very much like to see an improvement happen to this block, especially for the fact that it is located in the heart of our town, for starters. I'd very much like my fellow councillors to support my motion to enable me to commence some open dialogue with the owners of this block in an attempt to improve it for the better for the town. And my belief is doing something is better than doing nothing. I will add, I did see both of the owners, they were the first people I walked into when I went into Mark Quinlivan's funeral for his wake. And I thought that was a very good omen, actually, so I just like to add that little bit into that. And I had a little chat with them about things. Anyway, I really hope you support it because I don't think any harm can come from it. I've known them for a long time and I'm not promising anything, but I just think it's going to be a good start.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
Could I please foreshadow a motion?
You make foreshadow motion?
That council authorise the CEO to engage in communications on behalf of the Shire of Esperance with the owners of 2 Andrew Street to explore options to improve the amenity of the site.
Yeah, that's a foreshadowed motion, so if this one motion fails, then we will vote on that motion. Does anyone wish to speak against the current motion? Councillor Davies, do you wish to speak for the motion?
Thank you, Mr. President. As I'm sure a lot of people in our community know, this block has been vacant for quite a while and is a particular eyesore. If Councillor Johnston is able to engage with these owners of this block, I believe we could hopefully have something moving forward.
Is there a speaker against the motion? A speaker for the motion? Look, I'm going to take the opportunity to speak against the motion, not that I'm against Councillor Johnson communicating with the owners of the block, and I would like to commend her on her enthusiasm to do so, but I don't believe that she requires the authority of council to negotiate and try to bring the owners of this block to the property, the owners of this property to council or to the administration. What concerns me is that by council giving authority to Councillor Johnson to communicate on behalf of the council, that it flies very, very close to councillors being involved in the business of administration. And I think that is a really fine line on that motion that's up there for council to actually support. And I think that it probably crosses the line. As councillors, we have the ability to talk to anyone that we wish to talk to without the approval of council to go and talk, and it's a matter of going to talk to them, ask them if they're interested, and then get them to engage with administration. So it's not that I'm against Councillor Johnson talking to the owners, but I do have serious concerns about council giving authority to Councillor Johnson to do what I believe is the role of administration. Is there a speaker for the motion? Is there a speaker against the motion? As a mover of the motion and there's been a speaker against, you have the right of reply, Councillor Johnson.
Well, just, thank you, Mr. President. Just to speak back with what you've said, I have already engaged the owners. I know them well. I've known them for a long time. I've spoken to them about this in very briefly. But I was given advice from our CEO, but also from people through my WALGA training, that as a councillor you can't go and do that. And that's why I was coming to seek this to tick the box, you know, so I don't cross any boundaries. And I thought that was the right thing to be doing here. And I really truly believe, hearing this foreshadow motion, that having someone that's not the administration in the Shire, it can't be a negative thing. Like, I know there's history there with the Shire with them, and I'm not going to talk about it, but I just think it would be beneficial to have just a person. That's my view, and I'd like to think councillors would support my view. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. As it's the right reply, that closes debate. I take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? Those against? Motion's defeated 3 to 6. We'll now go to the foreshadowed motion. Councillor McMullen, do I have a seconder for the foreshadowed motion? Councillor Starcevich. Councillor McMullen, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, I think this is an important topic. I think, you know, the block in question, it'd be great if we could improve the amenity on that. And there's absolutely no reason why we as councillors can't have a discussion with our CEO, and we collectively, or the CEO and one or two or a handful of councillors can go. But I think the original motion, it skirts, because as a councillor, as an individual councillor, I have no authority. My authority is only when collectively we vote and it's a decision of council. But when I'm representing the Shire, I can't speak on behalf of the Shire. I can't make decisions on behalf of the Shire. And one of the biggest things that we're always taught when we're coming on council, it's noses in, fingers out. And, you know, we've got to step our way and we've got to let the administration do their job. And I think this is a way where we can still be involved. We can still say, hey, we want to do a site visit, and we want to do the site visit with a handful of councillors and with the CEO and with our engineer. But I think just sending one councillor who individually has absolutely no authority whatsoever is pointless, and it's sort of it's getting too deep involved in the actual administration, and it's away from the big picture strategic leadership that councillors should actually follow.
Thank you, Councillor Hull. Do I have anyone wish to speak against the motion? This motion. you wish to speak against this motion?
Sorry.
We're in debate, so you have the opportunity to speak against that motion.
Well, I'm going to speak against what Councillor McMullen has just said because I don't agree with what he's just said. Because, and that is part of the motion, I figure. My motion was written by our CEO. So when you state on behalf of the Shire of Esperance, I wasn't going down there to, goodness knows what. I was just, I mean, that was the wording, and it was just an open dialogue. It wasn't like I was going to. Whereas, anyway, that's fine. I'll speak against. I don't think, at the end of the day, our CEO and Shire administration has attempted this. Ex-President Mr. Ian Mickle has attempted this. I mean, it's the wrong avenue. Thank you.
Have anyone to speak for the motion? Have anyone to speak against the motion? Councillor McMullen, as you are the speaker for the motion, and there's been a speaker against, you have the right to reply.
Yeah, I guess very, very quickly, and I think President Chambers alluded to this earlier in discussion, because there's nothing stopping you from going down and having a chat with the owners. Absolutely. But you don't need a signed resolution from councillors saying that you're acting on behalf of Shire to do so. So giving you that sort of implies that, and be it true or not, it almost implies that you have more decision-making control and power over the Shire, and you can actually make the decisions. When we've got to realise, individually as councillors, we can't make any decisions whatsoever unless we get the right majority of councillors putting their hands up at the same time as we do. That's the thing. So I think, we're not. Okay, so like I said, I think it's a great idea. I think something needs to be done, and I think what we're doing now, we're working through this, and I think we're actually going to get to a better solution because, like I said, it doesn't just have to be the CEO. We can talk about this, and you can have a chat with the owners. Absolutely, you can go and have a chat with the owners after this, but you don't need a signed permission slip from the rest of council. So you can go and have a chat with the owners, then we can have a chat with the CEO, and we can get the CEO down there. We can try to have a site visit with the CEO, all the councillors, and the owners, and whatnot. So I guess that the process still can play, and like I said, I agree something should be done, but I disagreed with how you went about it, and that's why I foreshadowed the motion which we're voting on now.
Thank you, Councillor McMullen. That closes the debate. I'll take it you're ready to vote. Those in favour? No, that closes the debate. Those in favour? Those against? 8 to 1. Thank you. Item 15, members' questions with or without notice. Are there any questions in regards?
Not that I have.
Not that you have. No questions? Thank you. Item 16, urgent business approved by decision. No urgent business. Item 17 is matters behind closed doors, but just before we go behind closed doors, I'll ask, item 18 is public question time, so I'll just bring that forward. Any of the member of the public have any questions they wish to ask before we go to behind closed doors? No worries. Thank you very much. I'll take a motion that we move behind closed doors. Councillor Graham, thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'd
Councillor
like to move that we go behind closed doors to handle those matters.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Councillor Davies is a seconder. It's a procedural motion. Those in favour? 9-0. Thank you. Matters behind closed Can open the doors, see if there's anyone out there.
Thank you for letting us do it.
It's all right, I haven't finished yet. Are we back online yet? We are? Okay. For those online, council went behind closed doors for two items. One was to award a pre-qualified supplier panel for Parks and Gardens Reserve Management, in which, and do I need to read who it was? Cool, thanks, because I haven't got that in front of me. Which was awarded to Howard WA Proprietary Limited, trading as the Weed Terminator. And the second one was to supply a laying of concrete, curbing and minor concrete works, in which the supply panel was awarded to, or the tender was awarded to Worth Curbing, NC and CM Worth, trading as Worth Curbing. They were the two decisions that were made behind closed doors. And with that, I would like to thank the councillors for their attendance, thank the community that came in, thank the community online, and I will now declare the meeting closed.